You might start seeing that they become more interested in the environment and other dogs, start pulling a lot more. They might find it a lot more challenging to listen to you. You might find that they've got loads more energy and you're struggling to cope with their overexcited behavior. If this sounds familiar to you, then don't worry. It's happening to every single dog owner. It's not just your puppy being naughty. Adolescence is something that every single dog owner is going to go through. Everyone's heard about it. So what actually is it? So adolescence is essentially your dog going through puberty. This means there's going to be physiological, biological, and chemical changes going on within your dog. Their body is changing, their senses are opening up, and their brain is essentially rewiring. Adolescence typically starts at 6 months of age to around 9 months of age, and it can last from about 18 months to 24 months, depending on the size of your dog. A smaller dog will generally mature faster, so you might find their adolescence ends at around a year and a half, whereas a much larger dog, you'll probably find it's more around 2.5 to 3 years of age. Don't worry, it doesn't mean that your puppy is going to be a total tear-away teenager for a full 2 to 3 years. You are going to see lots of fluctuations in that time period, so you will see improvements, you may see some regression, but usually there's a few time periods that are a little bit more challenging than others for just a few months, and then you start to see some improvements again. When our dogs are going through adolescence, they are generally going to become a lot more social, be a lot more interested in doing things independently, push boundaries a little bit, and generally they're going to be looking for thrills and adrenaline, which often means that mum and dad become boring. So even if you did absolutely everything right with your puppy, they're impeccably well trained, the likelihood is you are going to see some challenges during this time, and that's perfectly normal, it's okay. What can make adolescent challenges more difficult is your puppy getting used to just going off and doing things totally independently from you from a young age. So this means if your puppy is used to going out on walks, rushing off to play with every single dog, rushing up to jump on people, this is probably something that we need to address now before it gets too difficult later on. So if your puppy lacks structure on walks, i.e. they're running off to play with other dogs all the time, they're chasing wildlife, they're doing things far away from you, this is just giving your dog an opportunity to repeat unwanted behaviours. The more they rehearse these behaviours, the more likely they're going to do it into adolescence, which is going to become more challenging as they become more confident and travel further away from you. One of the main challenges we see arise is that people start putting a little bit too much pressure on their adolescent dog. They start to expect too much from them, and that can cause lots of frustration. It can cause the adolescent dog to not want to spend time with their owners because every time they're around them, they get things wrong, they're getting told off, they're just getting more and more frustrated because they aren't maybe able to do the things that we want them to do because they're going through all of these additional challenges. Whilst the aim of our walks is always to give our dog as much freedom as possible, we have to think about safety as well. Teenage dogs tend to take more risks, they think a lot more impulsively, so they need extra guidance during this time to make sure that they are making the right decisions and don't have too much opportunity to do behaviours that we don't like. That's why long lines and walking in places which aren't absolutely filled with distractions like other dogs are going to be really important while your dog's going through the adolescent phase. My main tip for adolescent dog owners is to not think so much about obedience, but think a lot more about building up your relationship. The main issue that I see during the adolescence phase is that the dogs become switched off, they become disinterested in their owners, and they become more frustrated, as adolescents tend to have a lot more energy than a puppy or a mature dog. This means we want to be spending time thinking of appropriate outlets for our dog, finding stuff that they really love and being able to give that to them rather than them needing to go off and find fun and excitement by themselves. Just like human teenagers, doubling down on strictness and rules at this stage can often just make our dogs more rebellious. So we want to be thinking a lot more about what makes our dog tick, what do they love, and how can we give this to them. If your dog is able to go in any environment and pay attention to you, play with you and engage with you, it doesn't matter if you haven't got any obedience skills. That's the golden rule, is just getting that engagement and your dog wanting to focus and play with you. The vast majority of dogs we see at Royvon are dogs that are going through that adolescent phase. Not only that, but the majority of dogs that are surrendered at shelters are also of adolescent age. Don't get me wrong, adolescents are definitely hard to raise. It's not always easy, it is going to be challenging, but it's not going to be forever. If we think about it, it's really quite a small time period in our dog's life, and this is where we really need to help them out a little bit more, because not only are we getting frustrated and annoyed with them, they're likely feeling frustrated, hormonal, more sensitive than usual. There's just a lot going on with them right now. So we really want to help our dogs out. This isn't the time we want to give up on them. This is the time that we want to really build up that relationship so you can help your dog grow and mature into the wonderful family member that you want them to be.